All right. We are live. All right, guys. Welcome. I'm going to give it just a minute, let some people come in, and then we'll do some introductions, all that fun stuff. Trying to get my screen a little bigger here. All right. Been busy, Tammy?
Yeah, it's been a day.
Nice.
Worked 7 days in a row this past week.
All right. Busy. So no fishing this week?
No, but the husband went out yesterday morning. I was a little perturbed that he got to go and I didn't.
Did he get anything?
Yeah, he caught several. Got some redfish. Biggest one was only 25,
Okay.
but that's still good.
That's right.
Get my phone on airplane mode here so we're not disturbed.
Hey, cat.
Ain't that a pretty girl? I don't know what you're talking about. You look pretty.
That's my wife. That's Cat.
Very pretty.
Let's see. I was hoping a couple more people would pop in real quick.
The notification just went out. It just came.
Okay.
Yeah, give it a couple more minutes maybe.
Yeah.
And I posted it on my page as well for everybody to come join us. What's up, Thomas?
Hey. Thomas out on the water, I bet.
Lucky. You sound like Jeopardy music or something. Da, da, da.
That's right. We're just waiting.
There's some music from the elevator.
There you go. Yeah, so I thought once we get a couple people in, we could kind of compare and contrast saltwater versus freshwater. Although I got to tell you, I'm going to have to come back down now real soon.
It's the best. Tell you what, nothing like a redfish fight.
That was a lot of fun for sure.
Heck yeah. And I got to see your first saltwater red.
Yeah, that was a blast.
That was amazing. I loved it. Got me some little buddies here on the table.
Oh yeah?
To assist us.
I have. They're everywhere. They're taking over the house. Baits, rods.
Oh yeah. Oh, hey, I put you on Do Not Disturb. Go ahead. Oh, that's what I need to do. Do Not Disturb, not airplane.
Hi, Lori.
There we go. All right. Hey, Cletus.
Hey, Jen. All right, y'all. So we got a couple people in now. We're going to talk about the differences between freshwater and saltwater. And this is my friend Tammy, who hooked me up with my first red. She put me right on the spot, and it was awesome. What was that? 2 weeks now?
Yep, you did all the work yourself, though.
It was awesome. We had a good time. We were down there with the Women's Fishing Federation for what, a 3-day weekend? It was pretty good. That's right. All right, Tammy, I'm going to let you kind of introduce yourself a little bit. Tell us, like, where you fish, sponsors, anything, everything.
All right. I am Tammy Morissette. I've been a kayak saltwater angler for, I guess, 7-8 years now. I fished down on the Texas Gulf Coast, the Coastal Bend, Rockport, Texas, also Aransas Pass, a little bit of Corpus Christi, Port Lavaca area. That's where I fish. I am on the Fin Factory kayak and tackle fishing team, and I'm also on the regional Hobie fishing team. Been on the Fin Factory team for 2 years, and this is my first year on the Hobie team. And I freaking love saltwater fishing. I do a little bass every now and then, but I love the salt.
All right. Yeah, I can see why. I've been down there for one weekend, and I'm like, okay,
Time to move down.
yeah, that's right. I'm pretty sure my wife would agree. She'd probably be like, oh yeah, the beach sounds awesome.
Here we go. We've got another lot for sale. You can live right next to Jennifer.
There you go. Big all the neighbors.
There we go. We got the best neighbors over here.
All right. So to me, saltwater just opened up a whole new world. So, I have the normal stuff, the extra wide gap hooks and the Texas rigs, the Carolina rigs, all that fun stuff for freshwater.
Mhm.
But what I only got a little bit, in a 3-day weekend. Hit me with some saltwater knowledge, Tammy. Like what is your favorite bait or the best?
All right. My favorites. I've got them right here in front of me. My number one favorite saltwater bait. And actually what's interesting is I have used this for bass and it works. This is called the AM Fishing Purple Haze.
Oh, is that one of the garlic?
Yes, this is the garlic infused that I made sure you got some. The tail's a little faded and especially more faded on screen, but it's chartreuse. Anything with chartreuse is probably going to work. And you can't really rig this wrong. It's an amazing, amazing lure. And actually what's funny is I started out not touching anything. We started out using dead shrimp, and then we moved to live shrimp. I wouldn't touch that nasty shrimp. I wouldn't even touch the fish to get them off when I first started out. But within about 6 months, I moved up to gloves and then, doing everything barehanded. And I freaking love it. So I was sticking to a popping cork, which you learned about at the Women's Fishing Federation weekend. And my husband kept telling me, he's like, get off the popping cork, use a paddle tail, And I'm like, but this works. Or I'd use a weight bait because they worked. And I finally started fishing with paddle tails. And I tell you what, I hardly ever fish with anything else now. It's primarily paddle tails. And if the shrimp are hatching, if I see shrimp popping around, I'm going to use a shrimp lure.
This is what you were talking about a second ago, the popping cork.
Yep.
Kind of hard to see.
So what you do with popping cork is you rig, you can either do a mono or fluoro leader on it. I would suggest 20 pounds, 20 to 30 pounds, at minimum 15 pounds, 15-pound test. About a foot to a foot and a half, depending on the depth of the water. And what you do is just throw it out, close your bail or your bait caster, whatever you got going on, and just pop it every few seconds. Pop, pop, and it mimics the sound of a shrimp escaping.
Oh, okay.
So I like to put shrimp lures on a popping cork. Like I said, if shrimp are in season, if they're out running around. My second favorite lures are from Salt Strong. You can get them on fishstrong.com. And this is just a little paddle tail. This one has some dimpling on it to make it flow better in the water. But I tell you what, so you rig these, hook up, tail down. So we'll just pretend like we've got it on this jig head right here. So hook up.
Ah, okay.
You can see that. There we go.
Yep.
And tail down. And my hand's in the way. There we go. Anyway, so these, I just kind of do a slow retrieve and every now and then a twitch. pause, reel, twitch, twitch, pause, reel. And that they hammer it. They hammer it.
Yeah.
So those are primarily what I use. I will also, if it's early in the morning before the sun comes all the way up, or in the evening when the sun's going down, I will use a wake bait.
Oh, okay.
So
I
this
have
one,
some of those in my arsenal.
rather than walking the dog with like a spook or something like that, a top water, I like these because my arm gets tired, honestly, and you don't have to walk the dog. They do everything for you. They swim through the water like this.
Ah,
Have a
okay.
little side action with that noise. This one has a case of rusty trebilitis. They put some new hooks on this one, but and the reason I only use these when the sun is not up is because fish don't like to look up when the sun is out, because just like
Yeah,
us,
yeah.
sun's in their eyes. And they honestly, the color doesn't matter with these because all the fish are looking at is the silhouette. They see something that looks like a fish, sounds like a fish, they're going to go for it. Especially if they can just see it. Like I said, rather than have the sun in their eyes, they're going to go for that on top of the water. And I don't use it, typically don't use it any other time.
Okay.
I mean, I will once in a while. If it's overcast, you can use them when it's overcast. But if the sun is out and bright, they're not going to do a whole lot of good for you.
Okay.
Notice that bass kind of like them too.
Oh yeah, I was about to say that's pretty similar. Do you just vary your retrieve?
Yeah, it just kind of depends. I figure out the pattern on the speed that they're hitting it. I might go a little bit slower for redfish because they're kind of dumb, and you got to give them a minute to. Yeah, it does sound good, doesn't it, Thomas? Give them a minute to catch up to it. Trout, spotted sea trout, what we call speckled trout down here. They love to chase their food, so I'll do a little bit faster retrieve on trout. So yeah, that's what I got there.
Yeah. So looks like Kat was asking about, do you fish deeper in the daylight? But redfish also feed on the bottom, right? So are they always up in the shallows?
They are typically up in the shallows. If it's super, super, super hot, like the water's hot, they may go a little bit deeper to get cooled off. But they're typically, and they'll do that in the winter too, to get down to that warmer water column, or that warmer spot in the water column. But they are usually in the shallows, hanging out, eating whatever out of the mud. They're going for crab. They're going for mullet that are swimming around. Yeah, but you're typically going to find them in the shallower water.
Okay. And then you said you can see their tails. So when they're rooting around down there, sometimes their tails will come out.
Yep, that's what we call tail end reds. You'll see that little triangle top of their tail just kind of going like that, and figure out the direction that the tail is going. You want to throw it, maybe a couple of feet in front of where their nose probably is. And that takes a lot of practice, just kind of eyeballing the size of a fish and, comparing the size of the tail, or maybe not comparing, but just kind of gauging about the size of the fish based on the size of the tail to get it in the right spot. Because I've whacked them on the top of the head and spooked them off. But then there's other times where, it's a foot or so in front of them. They're going to nail it.
Yeah.
One of the coolest things I got to see a couple of years ago during a tournament, it was the first time I got to see it because the water was so clear. I actually saw the red. I saw him follow a lure just like this.
Oh, wow.
And hammer it. And that was the coolest freaking thing. And I saw it a couple more times after that. I see your question about the rain. The rain will affect the bite. If we have so much rain that it turns the water even more brackish, I mean, even to the point where you can't even taste the salt. And I will dip my fingers and taste it to see if it's salty. They will go deeper in those situations. If there's a lot of rain, they're going to go deeper in the water column to where the water is saltier. But redfish can live in brackish water. There are 2 freshwater lakes in the San Antonio area. We call them the Twin Lakes, Calaveras and Bronig, and they are stocked with redfish. They cannot spawn. So there's no baby redfish. They just have to restock them with like 200,000 fingerlings every year.
Oh, wow.
And then wait for them to get big, big, big. And then all you can do really in that situation is troll for the redfish. You can't really sight cast for them there because they're just hanging out on the deep bottom.
All right. Now let's talk about this pier. That was a lot of fun too.
Yeah.
I saw this guy drag the biggest fish ever. What was that? A black drum?
Black drum?
Yeah.
They're
it was
monsters.
giant.
Yeah, you can get some really big ones off that pier. You're talking about the pier, the Fulton Pier, right?
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was a black drum. I've caught a big one off of there as well.
So what are you using for the black drum?
So black drum, they will hit on artificial every now and then. I've had a big giant one hit on this color, the purple haze before. But they're usually going to go for cut mullet. Mullet's a bait fish down here. Well, you can see them in freshwater lakes too, jumping, doing their thing. Cut mullet, dead shrimp, live shrimp.
Okay.
That's usually what they're going to hit. They'll go after crab too.
All right.
And
So
they have a different. Oh, go ahead.
No. I was just going to ask, how do you use live bait a lot more frequently than you do lures, or are you kind of?
No, we call people like that bait soakers. It's a fun little term. So much affectionate. No, I typically only use lures.
Okay.
And the reason for that is because with bait, you're gonna find a lot of trash fish, like gaff tops, hardhead, which are saltwater catfish. You're gonna get pin perch, piggy perch, eating the bait. And it's just so it's a waste of time. It's a waste of money. So I'd rather spend the money on lures that are going to last a lot longer. Because basically with live or dead bait, you're just feeding the fish. Now you may catch something really good like that big black drum we saw. And that's fun. But if you're going for game fish, it's just, like I said, it's a waste of time. It's a waste of money.
Mm-hmm.
Artificial only is the way to go. And this is kind of mean, but what I like to say is if you can't fish with artificial, then you can't fish.
Well, I mean, on like for me, freshwater tournaments, you can't use live bait of any kind or cut bait or whatever. It has to be plastics, any of that, which seems like kind of what Kat's asking for tournaments, because you do some saltwater tournaments, right?
I do.
Is it just plastics and
the bigger tournaments, at least for kayakers, it's primarily artificial only. There are a couple of like smaller trails, smaller fishing clubs that will allow live bait or dead bait, but they're primarily artificial only, which is how I like it.
Yeah. I mean, me too. I'm so used to it now. When I was at the pier and they handed me that live shrimp, I was like, I'm not excited about this little guy, squirmy thing. Yeah, I was like, oh, can I try a dead one first?
Yeah, I'd rather not. And then you got to poke it right.
Yeah, but
Through their right in front of their brain, and that's just no fun.
Yeah, that was pretty gross. So, I mean, it was fun. Don't get me wrong. Like, it was fun to see what everybody was bringing up, because it was so many different types of fish,
Mhm.
right? Like that was a whole lot of fun to me. What is the biggest fish you've ever caught?
That's going to be, well, that's going to be the black drum that I did catch off that same pier. That, well, you know what? That might have not. We didn't measure it. Lisa and Jenny were with me. We didn't have any kind of measuring device with us. It was probably pushing 3 feet. So the official biggest fish I've caught is a bull red in Grand Isle, Louisiana last August, and that was 37.5 inches.
Holy moly, that's
Yeah.
giant.
That fish won me $100 in our couples yak fishing Texas. Come join us. Ladies tournament.
Okay.
And it was a little side pot. You had to be wearing a Spooled Life Live hat from Ram Garcia, one of our guys down here, holding your redfish. And I did it. Won me $100 on that one.
Nice. Okay. All right. So you fish from the kayak.
Mm-hmm.
How far out do you go? Like, I know when we were there, we were in like the bay. Do you go out like into the ocean? Like,
I have done it one time on a super calm day, just real gentle rollers. And that's really the only way I'd like to do it. So yeah, I've done it one time. I do need to get back out and do it again because there are some bucket list fish out there I want to catch. I want to catch some king mackerel, Spanish mackerel, amberjack, jack crevalle, cobia. I'd like to stay away from sharks.
that seems, yeah.
Yeah, that's probably a good idea. But you can't always stay away from sharks out there. You just got to be careful.
Okay.
But yeah, so no, I mostly fish shallow water, skinny water in the marsh. That's my favorite kind of fishing. I'll do some flats fishing. But yeah, it's usually up in the marsh.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, that was pretty. I mean, it did get windy there for a little while, but it wasn't horrible, right? Like comparative to being on a lake on a windy day, right? Like it was. I mean, I've been out there at 20 or more, and it's like, okay, I gotta paddle back.
It's just not fun at that point. I don't like
Right.
to go out in anything over 15. I mean, I can, but it's just not that fun because, you know, you're fighting the wind, you're trying to get positioned right. You know, the wind, unless you're just amazing at casting, the wind's going to kind of jack you up, or you're going to have to cast 10 times to the same spot, you know, figure out the wind each time until you get it right. So yeah, I prefer a little bit lower wind.
Yeah.
It's easier to see the fish that way too. Now, it seems like when it's a little choppier, that's when the speckled trout like to bite, not so much the redfish. That's what it seems like to us, but that might be wrong.
How big do those trout get?
So there's a thing down here. We call it the Dirty 30 Club. And if you can catch a trout 30 inches or up, that's a trophy fish. Well, anything over 25 is a trophy fish. But yeah, if you can catch an over 30, that's an amazing accomplishment. It does not happen often. I know a guy, he's also a kayak guy down here, and he holds the water body record for some big old trout.
Okay.
Down here on the Gulf Coast.
Nice.
But my biggest was 25 inches and 3/4. 25.
Oh wow. I caught a trout at your dock. It was about this big.
Yeah, we call those dinks.
Yeah.
They're so cute.
I was so excited though. I was like, woo, trout.
Heck yeah.
But okay, so Kat, oh, she wants to know if you get pulled around in your kayak with those big fish.
Yep, we call that a sleigh ride. y'all have that down in the back?
I have had one or two that were just real feisty and wanted to take me for a ride.
Well, yeah. So, yep, definitely. I've got a few that have pulled me off, and that's an amazing fight too. It's amazing. You're just gonna have to go with them and let them pull you. You know, they're pulling drag. You got to keep up. I have been spooled a couple of times on just some beast of a fish. The second time it happened, I didn't even know what it was. It took off, and I could not keep up with it. Yeah, it could have been a bull red, could have been a shark. I have no idea.
Oh, wow.
A 10-pound bluefish. That's funny.
All right. Let's see here. Have you ever been out on like the big boats? I know you do kayak, but what deep sea fishing? Have you ever done any of that? Did you catch anything?
So about 15 years ago, I went on a big old catamaran on a kingfish and red snapper fishing trip. It's a charter, like $85 a head, tons of people on the boat. Took some Dramamine before we went. It was about, let's see, I wouldn't call it deep sea. I would call it more offshore.
Oh, okay.
Out like 500 feet of water. We were probably in slightly less than 200 feet of water. I think I was the only one that didn't catch the target species. I caught a bonita, which was used for cut bait. And then I have been out a few times with my friends about 25 miles offshore from here for red snapper. A friend of mine caught a 7-foot sand shark. So that was cool. Got to touch my first shark. They have very rough skin. It's very sandpapery. Hey, Tanya.
Hey.
So yeah, I have gone out, and I would love to do a big tuna trip, to go back out for snapper again. The thing with some of these species out there is because the sharks typically hang out on the bottom as well, looking for their snacks. So like with snapper, once you're hooked up, you got to bring them up quick because the sharks will go after them. And down here, we call that paying the tax, man. I had a redfish one time in shallower water, and went to pull him up, and half of him was gone. And that's what we call paying the tax, man.
I guess that's why you're pretty careful about putting your hand in the water too, huh?
Yeah. And if I see activity, like if I see dolphins, I'm going to pull my stringer up into the boat. If I happen to see a shark, and I've only seen it with my own eyes one time, and it was quite a distance away from me, but I pull those fish closer and get the heck on out of there.
Okay. Yeah.
Hey, Tom, what was my favorite catch? That was that 37.5 inch. No, you know what? That is not my favorite. That's my biggest, and it was amazing. Now, my favorite was a couple years ago during our very first couple Jack Fishing Texas ladies tournament. And it was like the first day out. And I went into a little back lake, super shallow. I was almost sitting on the mud, and I saw the back of a redfish just kind of cruising down the shoreline. And then he kind of moved off. I was just sitting there. I didn't get it. And I went ahead and I reeled in my line, and it was on this lure, actually. Reeled it in, and then this wake starts moving slowly towards me. And that redfish went right by my kayak. I could see it. I mean, I could reach down and touch it. So it started going behind me. I pitched my lure behind me, like maybe 3 feet, and it hit it and took off running. And that ended up being a 28-inch red, right on the money, which is our limit here, 28 inches. That was probably my favorite catch, just because of the way it happened. And then second to that was that 37.5-inch bull red.
Nice. All right. Thomas says, "Are you going to Grand Isle in August?"
Yep.
What is that? What's happening in August?
So there is this tournament called Ride the Bull, and it is the largest kayak tournament in the world. Years ago, before COVID, you'd see 600 to 700 anglers out in Caminada Pass, which is right there under this big bridge, this big causeway. And you're all out there looking for one thing, and that is the biggest, heaviest bull red you can find. I was really hoping last year I'd be in the running for the top lady angler with the bull that I caught last year. But I came in, I think, oh gosh, I'm going to say like, I might be wrong, but like 25th out of 200, 300 something anglers. I'd have to go back and look. You'd think I would remember that. Maybe it was 108th. I'm not sure. Anyway, no, I think it was 25th. So yes, I will be there for that. We have gone every year except for COVID. And then there was the next year there was a hurricane. The next year a hurricane was coming, so we had to evacuate. But yeah, that's the tournament itself is actually kind of boring because you're just sitting there soaking bait. I caught mine on finger mullet, but the week leading up to it, because we go down for the whole week, epic marsh fishing. I mean, it's a marsh highway down there, marsh and marsh for just miles and miles and acres and acres. It's amazing fishing down there.
All right. The big question. So, what are some essentials for beginners that want to start saltwater fishing? Like, what is like the have tos and then the you might want us?
For saltwater fishing or kayak saltwater fishing?
Let's say kayak.
Okay. So for kayak saltwater fishing, the first thing I would start with is doing a demo. If you don't know what kind of kayak you want, I would definitely ask questions. There's tons of Facebook groups where you can ask. But the best thing to do is find a demo day near you. If you're down here on the coast near Corpus Christi, Fin Factory Kayak and Tackle Company has demo days, especially during the summer. We also have some up in the Houston area in San Antonio. Find a kayak that fits you best, that works for you, that's comfortable for you. Obviously, I prefer Hobies. They're super stable. They're a little pricier, but you get what you pay for on the Hobies. I love them. Jacksons are good. Old Town's also a great boat. So start with that. Next is your rods. Nothing is as important as your rod. Your reel, you can get a cheaper reel. I think reels are kind of a dime a dozen. It doesn't have to be any kind of fancy thing. One of my favorite rods, I bought a reel off Amazon for $40, and I've had no issues with it. It's been a great reel. Let's see what else. PFD, always wear your personal flotation device.
Yes,
Get you a
absolutely.
good one. If you're going to be in skinny water like me, I prefer the smaller profile of an Onyx automatic inflate. When you hit the water, 2 seconds, it goes, and that's happened once. What else? Get you a good paddle that fits you, that's the right length for your height and for your arm span or wingspan. Lures. Okay, so this is one thing I learned pretty early on. Less is more. You're going to want to take everything in your arsenal, and you're going to use maybe 4 different lures.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe, because that's what I usually do. So I've pared it down over the years to my favorites, what I know works. And that has worked well for me. And it lightens the load of my kayak. I like, okay. Purists are all about just paddling, right?
Mm-hmm.
Which is awesome. My dog's eating my pillow. That's great. Thanks. Appreciate that, puppy. Okay, I'm sorry. What was I talking about? The
Paring down and
yeah, paring down. The dog distracted me. I carry 4 rods, and each one is a different setup. So I have a wake bait, I'll have a popping cork, I'll have a paddle tail, and then I'll have maybe a shrimp lure or a spoon, just kind of depending what I feel like. So I carry 4 rods with me, and I do that because it's easier. Rather than having to tie on something different, you just grab a different rod for whatever you want to use it for. Lures for saltwater, the best thing that works for me is and I've learned this over the years too, in dark, murky water, dark baits usually work well. In clear or lighter clarity water, use a clearer bait. Anything with a chartreuse tail. This one doesn't have one, a chartreuse tail, but also white lures will work in either situation, either in dark or light water, even tannic water. You're just trying to create a contrast, just like with probably bass fishing. There's not much of a contrast there. White hand, white lure. And then, like I said, if shrimp are popping, I'm going to use a shrimp lure. So find the right lures, find what works for you, try different stuff. What else is important? Motors. If you want to invest in a motor, which we have done, get a good one. I prefer the Newport. I have a Newport 180. The new Newport 180 Pro has come out, and it's amazing. I would love to buy that one, but I just got this one to replace an old one that I tore up. So I like the price point because it's a little bit cheaper than like a Torpedo or a Bixby, but you get more bang for your buck with a new Newport. That's what I love about it. What else? Jig heads. I like to have a mix. I usually use 1/8 ounce jig heads because of the shallowness of the water that I'm fishing. If I'm fishing a little bit deeper, I might go with a heavier jig just to get it down quicker, down to the water column quicker. I like to use the weedless, the owner weedless. I don't know if you can see the little screw lock there. Just to screw the lure on. I use these especially in the summer because the grass gets a lot thicker down here. And then I don't particularly like this jig head, but it was close at hand. Just a regular 1/8 jig head for the paddle tails. And then I'll do the same kind of jig head on a popping cork. Gosh, what else? That's all I can think of right this second. Just have the essentials. Like I said, your PFD, a kayak that fits you and what you want to do with it, whether it's paddling or motoring. We use our motors just to get a far distance, and then we'll paddle around, or paddle if it's super skinny. Net, get you a good net. I like oh gosh, I don't even know the brand of them, but it's the I can't even think of it. I've had it for so long. It's that soft grip, and it's don't get any kind of fabric net because your jigs and your trebles are going to get stuck in them, and it's a pain to get them out. Go with that coated plastic stuff or silicone or whatever it is. Definitely get you a good net. Get you a great stringer. I have one that's actually kind of discontinued. I mean, I could make a few if I wanted to, but I love my stringer because you can call. It's got big giant safety pins that you stick through the lip.
Oh, okay.
Sun protection, fishing shirts, UPF 40 or 50, a hat, sunblock,
Yeah.
gaiters or buffs, lots of sunscreen, lots of sunscreen. So
For sure.
those are my basics anyway. My essentials.
Absolutely. All right. Well, I'm going to kind of wrap it up here. So if you wanted to thank any of your sponsors or
Oh yes,
tell them about your pages.
So on Instagram, I'm just at Tammy Morissette, and it's connected to my Facebook, so it's a lot of the same content. Actually, I need to do more content. Sponsors are 7 Day Addiction Media. They do apparel. They've got a kayak and tackle shop or a tackle shop down in Edinburgh in the Rio Grande Valley. S&J Rods, my absolute favorite rods, and you will love them too. They're great for saltwater, freshwater, super. God, they're amazing. I love my S&J rods. That's primarily what I use now. H&H makes a good rod. Waterlily makes a good rod, but S&J rods makes an incredible rod at a price that we can afford. It's not some crazy $300-400 rod. They also make a steering stick for your motor, which is super helpful. It's just a long rod hooked up, and it just helps you steer. You can turn it on a dime with these things. It's amazing. Yeah, those are my sponsors.
All right. So yeah, what I'm going to do is after this, I am going to put Tammy's socials on the page. That way you guys can go give her a like, follow. Oh, look, Jennifer's got extras. We're all going fishing. Let's go.
Yay. The Tiffany, the paddle that I have came with my kayak. It's a Hobie paddle, and it works well for me. It's light enough. Ever needed to go shopping for another paddle? If I did, but I'm perfectly happy with my paddle. And people at a kayak shop, if you want a kayak, they'll help you pick the right one for sure. And you can even probably watch YouTube videos on picking the right one.
Yeah, I mean, same with me. The only paddle I've had is the one that came with, and I just go with it. It always worked. Awesome. Thank you, Kat. Yeah, all right. I'm going to wrap it up.
Kat. Come on.
I appreciate you so much, Tammy. All right. We'll talk to you guys in a couple weeks. Absolutely.
Yeah, if y'all have any questions, hit me.